In today's wood story, I'm going to show you how to turn a few dollars into a high profit, high demand item such as these beautiful rustic Christmas trees. And the best part is that you can make them in multiple sizes to please your clients at the local craft fair. So go grab your tools and let's start this wood story. To kickstart today's project, you're gonna need a simple 2x4. It does not need to be pressure treated like mine is. I'm just using leftover woods. It can just be simple, knotty lumber, whatever it is. Just make sure you get a nice straight piece from the home hardware store, which can be easier said than done. But once you have that nice straight board, make sure that it's also 8 feet long, because that's gonna allow you to be able to do 2 different sizes of these trees, because we're gonna make one tree that's approximately 5 feet in height, and we're gonna make another one that's approximately 3 feet in height. And the first thing we're gonna do is just make sure that it's nice and clean and ready to go. And then we're gonna start slicing this up over on the table saw. But because I have my garage doors closed right now, I'm gonna start by chopping it into a 3 feet piece and a 5 foot piece. You don't need to do that. You can just cut all of it at once if you have the ability to cut that on your table saw. But because my garage is down and it's winter and it's cold, I don't wanna open it up. I'm just gonna chop it up first. So let's do that and let's get started. So last week, I was helping out my girls' school put on a Christmas vendor market, and we needed some large decor items. So my friend decided to volunteer me to make these Christmas trees that she had seen online. Now, she did help me out, so I did appreciate that. Now, it turns out that this project is super simple and can easily be batched. But what really blew me away was how many people at the market really wanted to buy these trees. And we didn't even have them listed for sale. So I knew I had to share this project with my fellow hardworking woodworkers, as this is the season for craft fairs. And if you have one coming up, it's not too late to batch out a bunch of these and make a killing in profit. I am setting my table saw to 1.5 centimeters, and that's gonna allow you to be able to get 5 cuts out of each one of these. And again, just a reminder, this is a 5 foot piece and this is a 3 foot piece right now. You don't need to cut them to begin with. You could wait to do it afterwards. It's just because my garage is closed and I don't wanna open it up. So that's why I'm doing it that way. I did a quick calculation on the cost per tree, including wood, hooks, screws, and stain. And the cost per tree came out to just about $5 per tree. So it's definitely a nice low-cost project. But what I really love about it is how quickly you can batch out a whole bunch, depending on the exact size of your 2x4, because they can vary a little bit. You'll end up with 5 pieces, and one might be a little bit higher than the other ones, just like these ones. But it's not a big deal. But one thing I would recommend is that you just leave those to the side, because we're gonna need some pieces from the bottom as well, and it's not as noticeable when you use those for the bottom. They actually make a great support for the bottom, so you can just flip them around when it's time to use those. So these ones, I'll just put to the side for now. Now, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make a cut on the top. So I'm gonna pick one from each pile, because we'll do it for the little tree and the big tree. So I'll take these ones, and we're gonna make a cut over on the miter saw. So on your miter saw, you need to set it to 60 degrees in order to make a 120-degree angle cut. I know it's confusing. I had a hard time understanding this in the beginning as well, as I was using my miter saw, which is why I like to refer to the angles as what you set your miter saw to versus what it actually is. I find that makes it a lot easier. So just remember, set your miter saw to a 60 degree. We are going to start by building the 5 foot tree, but the process is the exact same for the 3 foot tree. Start by grabbing the angle that you just cut and place it up against another non-cut piece that's also measuring 5 feet long. You can use a clamp to hold these pieces in place. Then grab one of the 3 foot pieces and lay this piece onto the wood at the bottom, actually putting it on top of it and then tracing a line. This will give you the angle that you need to cut, which should be a 30-degree angle, which means that you need to set your miter saw to 15. With the 2 new angled cuts made, the sides should now rest onto the bottom piece with no gaps. And now this piece lines up perfectly flush with this. And now I can drill this into it. Now I still need to cut this to size. So I am going to just line this up on the one side over here so that it's nice and flush. And then I'll make a mark down here. And I'm just gonna do these straight right here. And then we can cut that and we can start to assemble. All the pieces are attached using a single 1 1/4 inch wood screw in each corner. I like to pre-drill these holes to avoid the wood from splitting. You can also add wood glue for extra strength. The process for assembling the 3-foot tree is exactly the same, so I'll just speed this part of the video up while I assemble the smaller tree. So now that the triangles have been assembled, it is time to give them some support so that they can actually stand on their own. And we're gonna use one of the boards from before. You're gonna need to make these about 10 to 12 inches long in order to have enough support to actually hold the tree up. And you're going to need 2 pieces per tree. If you do end up with one of the pieces that had a little bit of a bevel on top of it, then just make sure that the flat side is the one that actually goes down on the bottom. And make sure that you cut them from the same piece so that they're not different heights, because that will create a wobble. So just double check that. And I see that I actually made a mistake because I ended up using 2 different pieces for the one. So that is a rookie mistake. So these ones I probably won't be using because they will be wobbly, but I'll attach this one first. Now, so essentially we're just spacing them out like this, making sure that they're nice and straight. I like to add a couple of pilot holes because I don't want it to break the wood. I don't want it to split as I am drilling in my screws. And I like to put 2 on each just to give it nice support. There we go. Okay. These pilot holes are just going down just about, half of an inch. That is to attach these little eye hooks afterwards because they're gonna be what we're gonna hold the string of lights together with. So we're gonna use these ones. They're just 1/2 inch eye hooks that I purchased on Amazon. I will leave the link down below. You can get them in 100 packs, so more than enough to make your trees. And I like to pre-drill them first before painting. That way, once it's all painted, they are essentially ready to go. And I'm not even going to sand these. This is exactly how they are going to be. If you want to sand them, go ahead. I'm not gonna bother. This is a rustic Christmas tree. It's gonna look amazing. And all we have to do now is stain it, and then it is done. So from this one single 2x4 that was 8 feet long, we were able to make 2 trees, but you should have enough pieces left to make a 3rd tree. And if you want to make it the same size, the small one, the big one, that's up to you, or perhaps make a 3rd size. Just apply the same principles as what we did here, where you start by cutting your first cut, setting your miter saw to 60, and then finding that corresponding bottom one, which should be the 15 mark over under miter saw for the bottom pieces. The last thing to do now is just to stain it. I like to use this Minwax wood stain, which is in a semi-transparent special walnut. I like that on the rustic pine. It gives it a great color. Like I was saying before, I'm not bothering with sanding or anything. Obviously, if you are selling these, you might want to just quickly run over it at a very high grit just so that no one gets splinters. But these are just going to be sitting out on my porch. That's where I'm going to be enjoying them. And then the last thing that you're going to want to do is, once that is dry, you're going to want to attach those eye hooks that we already pre-drilled. Super simple, you just twist them in. And then of course you need to find a light string to attach to it. And I'll link the one that I used below in the description. I just got it off of Amazon. And what I did is I got the 100-foot version of it, and then I used that to do both of my trees. And I think you could get away with using it on 3 trees, but you could of course also get them individually if they're going to be spread all over the place, but mine are going to be together, so 1 string was more than enough. And just like that, these rustic Christmas trees were ready to be displayed on my front porch, or even better, sold at your local craft show, because I can pretty much guarantee that anyone who sees them on your porch is going to want one. So start your order list now. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great, easy to build videos. And let me know in the comments below, how much do you think these trees will sell for in your area? I'll see you soon in the next Wood Story.